Mike Still, National Football Show. Appreciate you coming aboard. Terrible effort versus the New York Giants to close up the 2022 regular season. Not very good. But we move on. I took away from this. You're lucky the JV team for the Giants was playing. Coaches handled the roster and how they handled Jalen. Those were my concerns on Friday. Nothing changed. It was embarrassing that you had your starters out there versus the Giant team. That was the Giants practice squad. Was the Giants practice squad. A very unscripted first half of play calling. I mean, it was unscripted. It just looked chaotic. There was no rhythm. There was no trying to establish anything. It was unscripted, as usual. You know why it looked unscripted? Because Jalen wasn't using his legs to cover some of the bad play calling. It just wasn't very organized. And Yell goes, I prefer that. You do? With a hurt quarterback that you're running quarterback sneaks on? And the coach admitting after the game that Jalen played through pain? You don't want to have a game plan for that? You don't want to manage that? And it's a closeout game for home field advantage. And the Giants made a game. You really wanted to play your quarterback who's been banged up and hurt and has missed the last couple weeks and play him into the fourth quarter? Not me, man. That's not the way you manage an injured player. Well, then again, what would make me think they can handle an injured player? He got his face bashed in, and you didn't know how to. So let me ask. Jalen Hurts said that he should have come out of the Chicago game. Nobody on the sidelines that was a coach felt that also? Only the quarterback felt that? What were they teaching? Who were you managing? Jalen Hurts said that he shouldn't have played in the second half of that Bear game. Nobody thought better of it? Hey, can I tell you what this is like coaching? It's like Phil Jackson coaching Michael Jordan. Hey, Mike, turn and shoot. Hey, Mike, turn and shoot. At least Phil knows how to handle a roster and egos. And he was a magician. Phil Jackson was not an X's and O's guy. That was Turner and that was Cremens on the Chicago staff and in Los Angeles that did all that shit for him. He was the guy that handled like the guy in the circus handling all the dishes. That's Phil Jackson's talent. Being able to handle all those guys and egos. Putting all the pieces on the chessboard in the right place at the right time. See a guy like Rodman, you got to coach more. Okay? A guy like Jordan, you don't. When your best player is your hardest worker, that's the ultimate. Hey, Dan, which quarterback has more pressure in the playoffs? Dak Prescott. He sucked out loud. Dude, you got to win or I'm firing that guy. Why would I continue if I'm Jerry Jones to continue to burn money? Good money after shit money. Why would you continue? Dude, give me Cooper Rush. I could do the same shit with Cooper Rush that I'm doing with Dak, but $41 million cheaper. I could put Jimmy Garoppolo in Dallas and do the same thing Dak's doing. You paid a $42 million to win Super Bowls, not to go 12 and whatever. Cowboys have a good record again, right? Okay. They're a one-and-done team. You can't beat the shitty Washington Commanders with some dude named Howell. who hadn't played all year, and they blew you out. The Washington Commanders blew the Cowboys out. At least the Eagles won against the scrubs. I mean, Dak Prescott's got to play, man. Let me get into this Eagle. I want to ask you guys, what would you give TJ Edwards for a grade this year? These are some of the people that have had really great years in Philadelphia this year. What would you give TJ Edwards as a grade? C minus? B? How good do you think TJ Edwards played this season? C? He didn't suck. 159 tackles, 2 sacks. His coverage is suspect. Tackling is a problem. Down to D+ lately. I'm going to say this. TJ Edwards is going to get a B- from me. He was playing A- earlier in the year. My opinion, I think he's walked back minus. How about Gardner Johnson? What grade would you give Gardner Johnson? Injuries for you. I mean, it's part of the conversation here. A+, A for CJ, A-, Mr. International. I'm going to go with you and also Ray. CJ had himself a year where if I were him, I wouldn't sign with the Eagles. I'd want to sign with the Eagles. But I also want to know who your coordinator is going to be if Gannon does leave. If Gannon leaves, I want to know who your coordinator is. Okay? Does that make sense? Because that could be a whole different feel. Coordinators have a whole different way of calling games. Plus, remember something about Gardner Johnson. He makes $836,000. He is a significant pay raise. Somewhere between $15 and $17 million. He can play corner, slot corner. He can play safety for you. He's a very versatile player, and he's a hitter. Xander, he's a Bama kid, right? He's a Bama kid. I think he's a Bama kid. Well, this guy's been coached. He's got an attitude. I'll tell you, he is going to be a hot commodity on open market. And if I were Howie, I would look at him over Bradbury and over, I don't know, man. Gardner Johnson's got to be somebody. Oh, he's a Gator? Dude, this kid can play. 5 years, $50 million? Way under. Dude, he's going to get $14 million a year. Okay? He's going to get $14 million. 10 a year, you're underpaying him. A-, though, I'd give him. Javon Hargrave. Supposedly there's a 3-year, $51 million deal on the table for him. They'll probably re-sign him. I would say this to you. There were times this year he struggled against the run. The whole group struggled against the run. They're down in the lower third of the league against the run. Still, 11 sacks, 60 tackles. He had an A- year. He really got jobbed, in my opinion, for the Pro Bowl. He's a Pro Bowl football player. He is a really good football player, and I would want to sign him. You know, he's making $12.9 now. You're going to have to pay him north of what Fletcher Cox is making at $14.4 now. He really 11 sacks for a defensive tackle, like Yale's saying. That's a spectacular season. Spectacular year. Hassan Reddick. I'm going to go here on his grade. I'm going to give him a B. And here's why. As a pass rusher, A+. As a cover guy, C. As a tackler, C. Covering backs, C. He's average in everything else. He's average everywhere else. As a pass rusher, he's A+. But as a football player, now, again, if you're saying this to me, Sills, as a pass rusher, or wait, as a complete ball player, it's a B. He's not a complete ball player. He can't cover. He's not very effective as a tackler. Fact. Okay? I give him a B. As a pass rusher, he's elite. I'm not denying that. But as a complete ball player, he's not. He's not a complete player. That's why he struggled in Carolina and in Arizona. I mean, and again, he wasn't brought in to be a cover guy, though. And he wasn't brought in to have guys run at him. He was brought in to get after people, and he did. So he's a tough guy to evaluate. Okay? He's not a three-down guy. He's not going to make tackles for you. He's not covering tight ends. He struggles at all of that. He struggles at all of that. As a pass rusher, he's elite. That's right, Danny. That's right. They're not paying him to do all that. But Parsons is more complete. He can do all that stuff. That's why he's a better player. Miles Sanders, 259 carries, 1269, 11 touchdowns. Here's my problem with Sanders. This is one-year wonder conversation. He's never – how many years has Sanders been in Philadelphia? Can you guys tell me? How many years has Sanders been in Philly? How many years has he been in Philadelphia? By the way, he's had an A year. He's had an A year. 1269, 11 touchdowns, 5 yards a carry, A year. He's one of the better backs in the game. He's totally one of the better backs. But 5 years, he's never done this. Is it a one-year wonder deal? Are you concerned that he's 1 year? Or some guys are late bloomers. Look at Rashad Penny up in Seattle. Never figured out how to use him up there, right? He kind of came on late once he picked up how to pick up blitzes. He struggled in Seattle. Some guys are just late bloomers sometimes. Been hurt pretty much throughout the entire 5 years. You know, whether or not they bring him back, I completely doubt they bring him back. But for his season this year, in a contract, this is what people in the open market are going to say. He did this one time. Are you going to pay $14 million for 1 year when the rest of them have been marred with injuries and missed games? Are you going to pay him for that? That might be to the benefit of the Eagles. Because if he goes out in the open market. Now, look, there's going to be a massive market for him. Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore, places, maybe Chicago. Places are going to want to put an elite back, especially when you have an elite quarterback. You're going to want to put an elite back. I wouldn't call it Miles. Miles Sanders had an elite year. He's not an elite player. Does that make sense? Right? Right? Does that make sense? He had an elite year, but I don't consider him an elite player. Like Tony Pollard, I think is a better player than Miles Sanders. I think Tony Pollard's better. He catches the ball better. You could put him in the slot. I think the Cowboys' Tony Pollard is better than him. I'd rather have Tony Pollard. Okay? To me, Tony Pollard's better than Miles Sanders. I do dig if you put Tony Pollard behind Jalen Hurts, I mean, can you imagine Jalen Hurts getting the ball to him in open space and throwing in, screen passes? They really are limited in that game, and he would improve that part of the game. Aaron Jones is a good ball player. I like Jones more than Miles Sanders. I like Tony Pollard more than I like Miles Sanders, but he had an elite year. A year for sure. Dallas Goedert. Man, I'll tell you what. Dallas Goedert just might be the second best player on the Eagle team. He is elite. He missed 5 ball games. Man, he is the best receiver on this team. Dude, he's got a nose for the end zone. He's physical. He's a great blocker. He's wonderful after the catch. Dude, I probably can't give him an A because of the injuries and missed time. But boy, I'll tell you, he is an A talent. He just got hurt, so I'm going to give him a B+. He's better than Zach Ertz. He's better than Zach Ertz. I think I'll tell you what, I would compare him to the dude in Baltimore. He's like the dude in Baltimore. What's his name? Edwards? He's like that guy in Baltimore. Okay? But remember something with the dude in Baltimore. He's like the main target there. Goddard's like, it kind of goes off and on between the three of them. Mark Andrews, that's it. That kid's a really good player up there. I think they're kind of the same dude. And that says a lot because I think a lot of that guy up in Baltimore. Totally why they let Ertz go. Dude, Zach Ertz used to look for 4-leaf clovers. Every time he catches the ball, he goes to the ground and he's looking on the ground, 4-leaf clover. This guy's looking for the end zone. He's a really good ball player. B+. It's the only reason I give him the B+ is because he missed significant time. Devonta Smith, 95 catches, 1196, 7 touchdowns. Is that an elite year in today's NFL? 95 catches and 1196 and 7 touchdowns. Do you think that's an elite year in today's NFL? He was the second option. Let me take a look at something here. Second option. Hunter Renfrow stats.
According to Wikipedia.
Hunter Renfrow stats. So a year before Hunter Renfrow was hurt, he had 103 catches for, I think it was 1206. This last year he was injured, but he's considered a number 2 option. Last year he had 1,038, 9 touchdowns. But then again, Devonta wasn't on that team a year ago. Waller was on the team. 95 catches, breaks the franchise record. 1196, 7 touchdowns. Renfrow has 1038. He's the second option to Devonta Adams. 95 catches. I would give him an A-. Now, where he was picked, It's expected. How much did he improve? What did he have last year? 940? So put about 300 yards on his total from a year ago. Plus AJ's in the building, like Tone says. And he went from 64 catches a year ago, 95 this year. Improved. And by the way, I'll say this to you about him. I think he got better towards the end of the year. He's one of the few Eagle guys that picked his game up towards the end of the season. I mean, of all the guys that continually got better, he got better. And when Goddard went out, they figured a way to get him the rock. So I'm gonna say A- for him. He really did come on as of late. It totally came on as of late. A.J. Brown, 88 catches, 1496 and 11. That is an absolute spectacular season by anybody's measures on any football team. When you're over 1,400 yards, you're in the elite status. You're putting big numbers up. Okay? 88 catches, 1496. All career highs for him. A solid A, okay? A solid A. I'm not a fan of his attitude, but a solid A. So you got A minus, B plus, and the only reason Goddard doesn't get an A is he missed time. That's a solid group to go to build around. And by the way, that's a core group for the next 3 years. I mean, Brown, Smith, and Goddard are going places. You're going places with that. If you continue to keep building the team smart and you keep making sure your roster's balanced and your salary cap is balanced, you're going to continue to get better. Jalen Hurts now. I think you have to look at two Jalen Hurtses in his evaluation, and I think this is what they're going to do when it comes to talking about his money. Jalen Hurts and his importance on the team is what? A. His importance to the run game, to the pass game, to the psyche of the team, it's A. He's more valuable to the run game, though. His value is in the run game. Look at, and you know what? The loss of Lane and Jalen these last couple weeks has been evident. They can't run the ball like they have September, October, November. They cannot run the ball like that. They're not consistent. They're not good enough. And the play calling is suspect. Dude, what happened to Miles Sanders in the second half of the scrimmage that you had on Sunday? Where was he? You got a 1,200-yard back, and you don't go to him, and your quarterback's hurt, and you know he's hurt, and you're running quarterback sneaks. I don't get that. I mean, Jalen as a runner and as a dual threat guy, okay, there's no question. 165 carries, 760 yards, 13 touchdowns. Dude, you're breaking down third down and you're breaking down perimeters all season long doing that. Now, let's go as a passer. 460 attempts. Clearly not enough in today's NFL. You're not taking advantage of the league today. I mean, look, I want to show you this with these passers and attempts. Every offense in the NFL takes advantage of today's NFL. Okay? Mahomes had 650 attempts. Herbert had 700 attempts. Brady had 733 attempts. Cousins had 663 attempts. Joe Burrow had 640 attempts. Jared Goff had 587 attempts. Josh Allen had 567 attempts. Geno Smith had 670 attempts. Geno Smith. And Trevor Lawrence had 582 attempts. Jalen had 460. That's not enough. You're not taking advantage of today's NFL. And your quarterback worn out by the end of the year. Of all the quarterbacks, these guys aren't worn out. Your guy's banged up and worn out. Thank God they got the – dude, seriously, the only thing that came out of that Giants game is that you did get the bye, and you get to rest this dude again. His style of play has worn him out, and you don't throw the ball enough. Now, some would go, Sills, look at the stats with these three guys. Correct. But you're relying on breakdowns in plays when Jalen takes off to cover some of the bad. How good could that offense be? And you know what they do too? They don't do it, and they don't. The reason why you have, I want to show you something here. 460 passing attempts, 165 rushing attempts. That's 625 total attempts with the ball in his hand. That equals Mahomes. That equals Herbert. That equals Brady. That equals Cousins. That equals Allen. All those guys made the playoffs. But they threw it. They throw for first downs. If Jalen's not out there, you're going to be suspect in your passing game on first downs. How do you think the Giants were able – here's exactly what has happened the last month to the Eagle passing offense. Okay? Here's what's happened. They do a nice job getting the perimeter guys the ball, the boom. All of a sudden, they got a couple 3-and-outs. Other team scores. The defense allows a suspect quarterback like Andy Dalton to take it right down the field, 14-play drive on you, and you're in a ball game. Dak has a 77 completion percentage against you, even though your receivers are getting the numbers. And the only guys carries that went up were Jalen's. It's not a formula for consistency because your guy's going to miss ball games. Conventional offense with no quarterback run threat. Well, yeah. The Chiefs were 14-3. Allen was 13-3. Herbert's 12-4. Allen's 13-3. Geno made the playoffs. Lawrence made the playoffs. Brady made the playoffs. And these quarterbacks didn't miss time. The dual threat quarterbacks that miss time that are in the playoffs are Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson. There's no coincidence to that. There's no coincidence. So, Jalen as a passer, to me, he's a B. There's nothing exceptional except the touchdown to interception ratio and the quarterback rating. And the completion percentage is over 65, which is great. He's at 66.5. He improved it from 61 a year ago. But when I look at those numbers as a passer, he's not exceptional. He's gotten so much better, though. He's gotten so much better. So 5.573. So everything. Watch this. As a passer, he's a B. He's a well above average. As a guy who, in his importance, he had an A season for sure. There's no denying that. He was the best quarterback all year long in the NFC, in my opinion, because you do have to plug in his importance to winning the ball. I think that's important. And I'm being fair here. The potential is there as a passer. because of his tremendous work ethic and how he wants to be a better player and how smart he is, he's smarter than Josh Allen I think Josh Allen has been coached. I think Josh Allen the last 2 months has been coached exceptionally well by Ken Dorsey. I think they've been more structured in the second half of the season with Josh Allen and not getting that guy's ass hit as many times as they did in the first half. He's a reckless ball player, though, but he's got to get better. He's got to get better, okay? And I mean maybe even just smarter he's got to. Coaches are his downfall. I hate to do that, but it is. Okay? It is. I mean, look, just the simplest thing, and I know you guys probably don't look at it, but the quarterback sneak with an injured guy. Would you really run? Would you really run who you came into the press conference after the game saying he played through enormous pain, and you're running quarterback sneaks? Anything happens in those sneaks. They're a rough play. It's a goal line play. 4th down and 1 are goal line plays. You're going all out in that. That didn't make any sense. I mean, he's banged up and you're running goal line plays. You know what I mean? I didn't get that. It just didn't seem that they really had Jalen's best interest. Okay? I know they were wanting to win the game, but at all expenses and against the giant scrubs. That's been my rub today, is that the coaches couldn't put scrubs away. That coaching staff couldn't put the practice squad roster away for the Giants. You don't find that weird? I mean, at least Washington played a bunch of first starters, and they beat up the Cowboys. Dude, that was like the worst performance of the Sunday for a team that had to win a division and get home field. Okay? Shit, man, at least the Chiefs, they had to play against the frontline Raider guys. You didn't. You played against guys who were fighting to stay on rosters. That guy's fighting for jobs to keep as a starter. That made no sense. Hurts is not 6'2". He's not. I mean, there's all kinds of little nuanced things with that. You know, and you know, I mentioned it on the Sports Take thing. They had 9 carries. Okay, some of those were kneel downs and this and that. I didn't want him running once, let alone 5 times. Where do you find that to be? It's just not common sense. Okay, quarterback has a hurt shoulder. And if you run him once, that to me is a problem. I don't get it. Okay, I don't. Still, Shane has regressed. His play calling is high school level. Lucius, you know why his play calling has regressed? Because there's no Lane Johnson and no Jalen Hurts. You take those 2 guys off a roster, and you take those 2 guys off of the off of your huddle, you're gonna have a drop. This is what I was telling you guys 3 weeks ago when you guys were still saying that the Eagles are the best team. You're not the best team because your personnel's not, you don't have the same personnel on the field. Lane's the best player. Lane Johnson is the best player on the Philadelphia Eagle team. He is the number 1 or number 2 rated. Jalen's not one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league. He's not. He's probably top 13, something in there. Okay, Jalen's probably top 13. Now, he's had an MVP season. When you put the rushing totals in there, yeah, but I mean, he's probably in the top 13. He's like, these other guys here are different. It's a different, all these guys are playoff guys. Okay, they're not runners. They're not dual threat dudes. Josh Allen was spectacular, Sills. Did you see the TK? He is a amazing football player. Little reckless with the ball and little reckless with the way he approaches the game is my concern. You know, if I'm going to be fair to Jalen here and my critiquing of Jalen, I got to be fair to Allen too. Got to reel that in. Andrew Luck. He looks like Andrew Luck in a lot, but I think he's better than Andrew Luck. I think Josh Allen's better than Andrew Luck. Okay? He is an unbelievable ball player. 100% Lane is the best player on the roster. Kelsey's too. I would probably say AJ. Jay, if I had to, I'd probably say AJ Brown is 2. He had a spectacular season. And his jump ball, remember what I said to you guys at the beginning of the season? I said AJ Brown is going to be a jump ball nightmare with teams, especially in the red zone, and he is. And when he's in open space, I'll tell you this, he is a force. Hey, Xander, everyone, did you guys happen to see Derrick Henry in that Jags game throw that stiff arm? I'll tell you this, man. I've only one other guy I've ever seen throw that stiff arm like that. That's Walter Payton. Okay, I didn't realize that Derrick Henry had almost 1,500 yards rushing. I thought, I didn't see any of those. I think he had one 200-yard rushing game this year. Dude, Derrick Henry. So he picked that guy up from the Jags, and he put that guy on his head. He is a force to be reckoned with, man. I could not believe what he did to that guy. Boy, man, he is. Jimmy G is back, Sills. Jimmy G! God, do I love Jimmy G. I think they're going to keep Purdy in there, though. That Purdy dude in San Francisco's played some great ball. I'm trying to get him on the program. His father's a Hurricane. He played college ball at the University of Miami, a little bit after me. Trying to get him in there, man. I reached out to Canes Baseball, and I got the old man. I go, is that your kid? He goes, yeah, that's my kid. I go, Brock Purdy's your son. He goes, yeah. I go, okay, we got to get him. I got to get him on. He goes, he doesn't want to do any interviews right now. He's hanging in there, It's all about team for him. This kid's turning out to be Joe Montana. Dude, he's Jalen's top 5. Forte. Okay, wait. So Jalen Hurts over Mahomes? No. Jalen Hurts over Joe Burrow? No. Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen? No. Jalen Hurts over Trevor Lawrence? No. Okay? Shit, dude. Geno Smith had a better passing season than Jalen Hurts did. Let's see if that's a fact. Let me see here. I got to double check Geno's numbers here. Let me see this here. Jeb says I'm stupid. Okay, well, let's find out. Geno Smith stats. Let's take a look at that. He says I'm stupid. Okay. Where's Jalen's numbers? Here we go. Here's Geno Smith's 2022 season. Geno Smith had 572 attempts. Jalen Hurts had 460. Geno Smith had 400 completions. Jalen Hurts had 306. Geno had 4282. Jalen had 3701. Geno Smith led the NFL in completion percentage at 69.8. Jalen is 66.5. Geno had 30 touchdowns. Jalen had 22. Geno had a 100.1 quarterback rating. Jalen had 101.6. The only thing he beat him in was 101.6 versus 100.9. You're stupid. Facts. I just read you a fact. And his team made the postseason. Geno Smith had a better passing year than Jalen Hurts did. That's incredible. Wow. So what's your thoughts on next week's playoffs games? We'll get there. That's wow. Geno had a better year than Jalen. It's technically, look at you, Tone. Look at Tone. He uses the word technically. It's technically true. Come on, Tone. Not you, too. Technically? Yeah. You mean factually. It's not textual. It's not technically. It's not technically. Yeah. Look at Tone. Tone goes, technically, he did. See that little asterisk he put? See, in broadcasting, Tone is now learning how to do the game here. You see, because that is an asterisk. He's putting an asterisk by that in his take. Geno with a better passing season than Jalen Hurts. No, Espo. Technically and factually, the Eagle team went 14-1. Factually. And factually, Jalen missed games. Technically. Look at Tone learning the game already, you youngster. Look at that, man. Sills, technically, he did. Oh, technically? Okay. They run the ball in Seattle without Geno, too. Was Geno ever mentioned in the MVP balloting? Not top 5 he wasn't, but he was mentioned. Hey, Joseph, no. That's right. No. And he had a better passing year than your guy. Hands down, too. And actually, it's not close. Technically. Technically. Yeah. Geno Smith. 4,200, almost 4,300 passing yards and 30 touchdowns. That's what you guys wanted Jalen to do. But dual threat. I got to take a timeout. Week 18 NFL. Some dog shit games and some great games. Keep it here. Hit the like button.